Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a closer look at something pretty fundamental in Web3. It's this tension, how do you get massive global reach, but also keep things absolutely secure when it comes to identity? And our focus today is the Pi network. They just cleared a huge batch of user identity checks, maybe one of the biggest in the mobile crypto world.
Oh, absolutely. It's a massive logistical feat. I mean, think about it. This is a project that got huge because it was so easy to join, like one click on your phone and you're mining. But then comes the challenge. How do you take those millions, some anonymous, some maybe not even real, and turn them into a fully verified, decentralized group? It's enormous.
It really is. And the number that kind of anchors everything we're talking about today is, well, it's big. Over 3.36 million pioneers. These are folks who had the sort of preliminary KYC status, know your customer, and now they've fully passed. Done. Verified.
3.6 million. Yeah, that's not a small number. And these verified people, they're basically the bedrock now for Pi's Web3 ecosystem.
Okay, so our mission in this deep dive, we want to unpack how they did it. We've got the source materials. We need to look at the tech, specifically the AI, the artificial intelligence, that made this huge automated clearance possible.
Right. And crucially, we need to figure out another few million pioneers, what they need to do if they're still waiting for that final green light.
Definitely. But maybe before we get into the solution, let's just quickly touch on the origin again. To really grasp why this verification step is such a hurdle, Pi Network kicked off, 2019? Stanford PhDs. The whole idea was making crypto mining accessible.
Exactly. Just your smartphone, tap a button once a day. They call it simple, eco-friendly mining. And that accessibility, brilliant for growth. It went viral, but it creates this ticking time bomb for identity verification down the road.
Because if it's that easy to start mining,
then it's potentially easy for people to cheat the system, right?
Yeah.
Make multiple accounts, run bots, that sort of thing. So the second you want to build real utility, real transactions, that security layer, the KYC, can't just be okay. It has to be absolutely solid, ironclad.
Which brings us back to that 3.36 million. These pioneers, they moved out of this, digital waiting room, this preliminary status, to being fully approved, migrated. The source material calls it a huge systematic move.
It is. It's really a defining moment for the network, I think. It's not just about clearing a backlog, The sources really hammer this point. This verification is vital for maintaining a, quote, secure, authentic, and inclusive network of real individuals.
Yeah.
Before this, a big chunk of their user base was, theoretical potential. Now it's confirmed.
Okay, so what is actually having that solid foundation unlock? Why is 3.36 million verified users such a bigger deal than 3.36 million preliminary ones?
Well, it fundamentally shifts things. It moves the network from being this large-scale project with, lots of potential, to becoming a secure, functioning Web3 ecosystem that's actually ready for things to be built on it, ready for utility.
Right.
This verified base, that's the engine for whatever comes next, scaling, migration to an open network, all of it. You need real, unique users for people to trust the coin supply. Without that trust, forget about building meaningful apps or finalizing their whole journey towards openness. It's like moving from beta testing to, okay, we're building the foundations of the actual house now.
Okay, let's get into the mechanics then. How do you actually do this? Validating identity for millions globally.
Yeah.
You can't have people manually checking documents, right? What is this engine? What are these system process controls that manage to clear over 3 million cases pretty much all at once?
Yeah, that's the fascinating part. It's almost entirely automated. They talk about advanced system controls, and at the heart of it, it's sophisticated artificial intelligence models. Think of it like a digital bouncer running these really complex, mostly invisible security checks constantly.
Okay, AI is the engine. But what's the fuel? What data is it actually looking at? It can't just be simple stuff like names and dates of birth, surely.
No, it's more specific. The AI models are analyzing these really large data sets. And the data comes from two main places. First, there's the original KYC application info the pioneers submitted way back when.
Right, the documents, the details.
Exactly. And second, there are these ongoing validity checks that users perform sort of within the app environment itself.
Okay, validity checks. Can we make that a bit clearer? What would a user actually be doing for one of those checks?
Good question. So think about global ID checks today. Often it involves stuff like automated biometric liveness detection.
Proving you're a real person right now, looking at the camera.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Proving you're genuinely live. Or it might be document integrity scoring, basically. The AI checks if the photo of your ID or its metadata looks like it's been tampered with. These are the kinds of automated tests designed to catch the easy stuff, like bots, but also more sophisticated fraud like deepfakes.
Got it. And the AI uses all this data. You said it had two main jobs. What were those again?
Yeah, it's running like a two-stage check, kind of simultaneously. First is what you might call proof of life. Is this applicant a genuine, living person? Real unique, actually there.
Okay, stage one, real human check.
Yep. And stage two is more like proof of completeness. Has this application passed all the other necessary checks, the additional controls that maybe weren't done or weren't clear during that first preliminary review?
So it's catching up on anything that was maybe missed or pending earlier?
Exactly.
That dual function, though, it really highlights that tension we started with. Super easy to download the app and start clicking. But the security check to actually use it fully, it's intense. You mentioned invisible security checks. For the average user, doesn't that sound a little unnerving? Like, how do we know this AI process is fair, especially with identity?
That's a really critical point, the fairness and integrity aspect. The sources are clear that these systems are designed very specifically to enforce PI's main policy.
Sure.
One account per person, period. The AI's complexity isn't just for show. It's a necessary shield against fraud on a massive scale. It's trained to look for statistical anomalies, inconsistencies across millions of data points that might flag someone trying to cheat.
So it's protecting the honest users.
That's the stated goal.
Yeah.
Protecting the integrity and fairness for the pioneers who are playing by the rules. And the transparency, it doesn't come from like open sourcing the AI's code, which would defeat the purpose. It comes from the rules being clear up front. Stick to the one account policy, use your real info, provide genuine data.
Okay, that makes sense. The complexity of the check is almost a direct result of how easy it was to get in. If it were a closed invite-only system, the checks wouldn't need to be nearly this robust.
Precisely. It's the inherent cost you pay for trying to achieve mass decentralized global adoption. You open the front door wide, you need a really, really smart security guard.
All right. So this brings us to the next big piece. We've talked about the 3.36 million who got the automatic green light from this AI system. But if the AI is so good, why are there still, 3 million other pioneers kind of stuck in limbo, still with that preliminary status?
Yeah, it does create a bit of a cliffhanger, doesn't it? There's this whole other group, just as large, around 3 million users, still marked as preliminary. The key difference here, according to the sources, is that the system tried to run the final checks on them too, but something was missing or incomplete.
So the AI hit a roadblock with their file.
Basically, yeah. Their file is sort of paused, sitting there waiting for the pioneer themselves to provide one last piece of the puzzle, some final piece of evidence or action.
Okay, so for those 3 million users listening, what specifically do they need to do? How do they get unblocked by this system?
The sources are actually very direct about this. These users can get unblocked. The system is ready for them, but they need to act. They need to immediately submit whatever required additional validity checks the Pi app is asking them for.
So check the app.
Yes. If you have preliminary status and you open the app and it's now asking for an update, maybe a resubmission of a document, maybe just a quick liveness check, that is likely the final thing the AI needs to finish its work.
So it's like the system did 99% of the work, but it's hit this mandatory point that absolutely requires the user to interact one last time, like forgetting to sign the last page of a form.
That's a good analogy, yeah. And often these roadblocks are things like maybe the ID they submitted initially has now expired, or the photo wasn't clear enough, it didn't meet the integrity score, or very commonly, maybe they just didn't complete that liveness check properly the first time, the part that proves they're real and present. So the advice is clear. Check the app, see the specific instruction, and do it right away.
That is super critical advice. Okay. But you mentioned something earlier, like an acceleration tip. Beyond just doing the required check, is there anything else someone waiting can do to potentially speed things up?
Yes, there's a hint towards that. So obviously, number one is do the required task if the app asks for it. But beyond that, the sources suggest that active mining, pressing the button daily, and just consistent engagement with the Pi app itself is encouraged.
How does that help?
Well, it seems consistent participation acts as a kind of signal of authenticity to the system. It shows you're active, ongoing user. Now, the AI makes its final decision based purely on data integrity, the checks we talked about. But sustained activity, being engaged, seems to help trigger some of these underlying automatic processes, including this big KYC clearance wave. So it could potentially accelerate getting your final migration sorted.
That's actually fascinating. The system almost rewards showing up consistently, maybe as another subtle anti-fraud check.
It seems plausible, yeah, like a proof of commitment alongside the proof of identity.
Okay, before we wrap up, let's just quickly loop back to the beginning one last time, just to put this huge security step into the broader Pi network context.
Sure. So we established easy entry created the need for tough verification later on. And when the project first launched, the rules were pretty straightforward, but also quite strict on identity. You had to register using your real name.
Right.
And KYC, the identity check, it becomes mandatory after you've done 30 mining sessions.
Yeah.
So fairly early on.
And they tied real consequences to getting the identity part wrong, didn't they?
They did. The whole system is built on this idea.
Yeah.
You are one real person. So if you register with a fake name, or incorrectly, or if they later find out you have multiple accounts, there's a penalty, a significant one, a 20% loss on the Pi coins you've earned.
Ouch. Okay, so that 20% penalty definitely adds some teeth to making sure people register accurately and get verified properly.
Absolutely. It makes the identity requirement more than just a suggestion. It has real weight.
Okay, so let's try and bring this all together then. Pi Network. Huge scale achieved through super easy mobile mining.
Yep.
They've now pulled off this massive essential security clearance. They use complex AI, these sophisticated system controls, analyzing vast amounts of data to securely verify over 3.36 million users. And in doing so, they've really solidified the foundation of their network, making sure it's built on actual real individuals.
Exactly. It's a crucial pivot point. Moving away from just a growth model based on potential towards having a secure, sustainable base ready for whatever comes next in their Web3 ecosystem. The architecture is now much stronger, designed to protect the genuine users from the fraud that, let's be honest, inevitably comes knocking when you make entry that easy.
So this brings us to our final thought, something for you, the listener, to chew on as we close out this deep dive. If the big dream of Web3 really is widespread, global adoption meaning anyone with just a smartphone can jump in, kind of like Pi's one-click mining, then how incredibly important will these advanced, maybe even invisible AI-driven security systems become just to maintain the basic integrity of decentralized identity?
It really suggests a future, doesn't it?
Right.
Where decentralized identity might be this constant, quiet balancing act.
Yeah.
You can only have that extreme ease of use on the front end because you have extreme, automated, AI-powered security running nonstop in the background, guarding the gates. That tension, frictionless entry versus critical digital security, that might just be the defining challenge for any large-scale blockchain identity project moving forward.
Absolutely fascinating stuff. It definitely changes how you think about just clicking a verification button. Okay, that's all we have time for in this deep dive. Thanks so much for tuning in.